want to share with you one story about optimism. And I just ask you one favor. When I mention his name, don't throw anything at me. It's happened before, but I want you to know, to me, he's a very close friend. He's somebody that I believe has done a tremendous amount quietly for the state of Israel and for Jews around this country. I have a very close relationship with somebody by the name of Rush Limbaugh. I was the one that took him to Israel a number of years ago. And we are very close. He's been to my house. We speak very often. And as I say, he is truly a friend of the state of Israel, despite the protests of many of his friends that he shouldn't be. And I want you to know something. I took him to Israel for 4.5 days, and it was the trip of a lifetime. First class all the way. We met everybody, Rabin, Perez, show you how life changes. Sharon drove us around the settlements to tell us how important they were. We had breakfast with Netanyahu. The Knesset gave him honors. The military flew us over the country to see everything. We went to military bases. It was an unbelievable trip. The end of the trip, on the way to the airport, we had one last stop. It was the head of security to the Israeli army. At that time, the head of security was a religious Jew with a very big knitted yarmulke on his head. And we went into this office, and for 1 hour, he gave us an overview of the threats to Israel, the dangers that Israel faced, and the state of the world in terms of Israel at that moment. It's interesting, again, how life changes. Iran was not really a topic on his map. Saddam Hussein was. Soviet Union was much stronger then in his eyes and was much more of a threat. At the end, he says to Limbaugh, he says, "Do you have any questions?" So he says, "I only have one question to ask you." He said, "I've been here 4.5 days. I've learned so much about the Jewish people and the Jewish state." He says, "But I want to ask you, you have 22 neighbors that want to throw you into the sea and destroy you. And let's be honest, the Jews aren't the most loved people in the world anyway." He says, "How do you keep your optimism? Where does your optimism come from?" And this Jewish soldier goes, I'll never forget it, he goes, "Ah, I'm glad you asked that question." And he opens up his drawer and he takes out a chumash. And he says to Limbaugh, he says to Rush, "This is the 5 books of Moses. This is the gift that the Almighty gave us at Mount Sinai. In this is the way a Jew is supposed to live his life. In here is our military strategy. But most of all, in here is our optimism. When I go home at night to my 4 little children, I'm optimistic that everything will be okay because we have this. I give this to you as a gift so you could study our way of life, you could learn our strategy, and most of all, you could have our optimism." My friends, this is what Rabbi and Rebbetzin Max are saying to you and to everybody in your community. Here is the greatest gift that the Almighty has ever given, and He gave it to us. Open your hearts. Look inside. Learn what it means to be a Jew. Learn the strategy of the Jewish people. And most of all, understand that the only reason we will survive is because we have this gift. And that's what Rabbi and Rebbetzin Max give to you. And I just want to end by telling you one thing. Don't be worried about how small you may be at this time, how many people come and how many don't come. Soon there's going to be Hanukkah. You know what Hanukkah tells us? That the Maccabees were the few against the many, the weak against the strong. But they won. They won because they held on to the greatest gift that we have, 5 books of Moses. May the Almighty bless you, Rabbi and Mrs. Max. He should bless you that all your dreams should become reality. And may He bless all of your good friends and everyone in your community with the courage that they need to stand up, to be optimistic, to accept the gift that you're offering, to take it for themselves, for their family, and for all the last lions that are not here yet in this room. May the Almighty bless you, that in the world of darkness we live in, you should continue to bring light. Amen. Amen.